Welcome to the Featured Anime Podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
And I'm Rick.
And today we are talking about A Whisker Away, which was my choice for this week.
You know, it wasn't a bad choice. It was a movie. I liked it a lot as far as its time goes. It was only an hour and a half, hour and 30 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, but before we delve too much deeper, this
I always jumped the gun.
You always jump the gun, but that's all right. That's okay. This aired in June 2020. Producers for it were Fuji TV, Toho, Animation, Universal Music, and Kadokawa. Studio for it was Studio Colorado. It's an original. It's a comedy, drama, romance, supernatural, and school. And given that, hey, Happy New Year, by the way.
Yeah, seriously, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And this takes place on Happy New Year or takes place during a holiday where they have fireworks. Summer festival.
Yeah, I was going to say,
what they were going to say. But, you can kind of roll with it for a New Year type style thing at the same time.
Hey, it works.
I mean, new beginnings.
Yes, new beginnings and new ways to look at things.
Indeed.
So,
but I really, honestly, for this one, can't complain too much on it,
Me either. Very unsimilar to how we were in the pre-show, where I was kind of complaining a lot. Granted, not about this or anything else, but just how certain banks aren't the most favorable of choices when you get, I don't know what you call it, your identity stolen? No, it wasn't even that. It was just my card was stolen.
Yeah, card theft. That's all right, though. Yeah, hey, it's okay. It is all right. And if you want to catch a part of that wider conversation, patreon.com/featured anime podcast, $1 a month will get you there. So, meat and potatoes, sir. Meat and potatoes. Get jumping right into it. I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't disappointed in the movie, but at the same time, I wasn't blown away by the movie. I felt like it was kind of predictable. It led you down a predictable path, I want to say.
I'm glad you said it, because I was really trying to see something more than what was there, because it had all the makings of a heartfelt story where you would have a learning experience, you'd have trials, tribulations, friendships would be tested, love would be found, like classic.
Yeah.
Granted, I was going to say classic Studio Ghibli. No, not even that. I'm mixing that. Studio Ghibli is just straight weird in the best way possible, I might add, but still straight weird. But it wasn't, I would say this anime style is more Americanized than traditional, not because of the way it was drawn, but because of the way the story was told, where a happy ending almost always happens. Very rarely, at least when I first started watching Japanese animation, was there a happy or conclusive ending.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it was God, I hope they don't do this. Sorry, I've got ADHD, and I think we've all come to agree with that. But you sent me a message earlier showing me the end of Attack on Titan, and I hope they don't go that route.
It wasn't the end of it. It was just
no, it's not.
Someone's stating like a what if.
What if? Oh no, it better not be. I want to point that out, where Aaron wakes up and
it was all a dream.
Yeah, exactly.
It was all a dream.
You're like, I invested so much into this crap, and you just Anyway, I digress, because I can, I guess. But there were certain anime, for instance, Monster Rancher, where that's essentially how they ended it. I spent 3 seasons on Monster Rancher, which I loved. And they're like, yeah, he woke up and it was all a dream. And you just felt this sort of sense of abandonment and loss. And that was the norm for most of the anime I watched through middle school and high school. And here, they actually gave me a satisfactory end. Granted, it's not an end, like a finished thing. There's more story to be told, but it's not for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It won't be interesting. The main story already happened, and their life does go on. So there's not like a bookend there, like we typically like for series.
Right.
But I mean, it was good, but it wasn't great.
Exactly. And I really have to agree with you on that too, that it was good, but not great. And I feel like it's also kind of a retelling of what we're always kind of told when we're growing up or when we're learning things, which is the grass is always greener on the other side, or
Yeah,
walk
I
a
could see
mile
that.
in your shoes, walk a mile in their shoes,
Yeah, that's
this,
exactly it.
this had a
Like,
lot of those situations in there where it's, you don't know what they're going through, or this is what they're, this is their mentality, or you see this happening and you just assume that it's actually greener over there, or that this is going on, and then when you realize the reality of it, it is not the case.
well, I think I might have mentioned this before in the few episodes we've done, where people have three voices. Everyone has had three voices: the voice you hear, the voice I think I'm saying, and the voice in my head. And they're all three completely different things most of the time. Like, the Rick isn't the Rick my mom knows, isn't the Rick one of my other friends knows. But in my opinion, my words are coming out the same. But in my head, the words I'll never say, they're populated there. That's my true face, I guess you could say. And sometimes my true face comes out where all three are being said the same way, and people end up either getting hurt or they go, I didn't really ever expect that from you. And I say that to say this: no matter what face that the main love interest is showing, it's not his true face until he shows it to a cat, an animal that no one's around to see.
No,
And-
they do see it, and that's the thing. And so, like, Kento, the main male protagonist, he does see the cat, and his sister sees the cat too, and one of the workers sees the cat, so they do see the cat.
Oh, no, sorry, the cat is real. But what I'm saying is, when he and the cat are alone, the things he says
Oh yes,
are his inside face, the thing that he doesn't show everybody else.
True, and he kind of shows it through actions a little bit too. So when you first see Toru, I think is the cat. Tora, I think is what the cat is.
Yeah.
It definitely is different. He basically cooks on a full meal for the cat.
And just gone, eats it all, no issue. But so the reason we're talking about a cat in a whisker away, I mean, the title kind of gives it away, but we've got I'm gonna ask you to repeat her name because I can't for the life of me. I thought it was a longer one because she does a sunrise attack.
Well,
that's his last name.
His name is Kento Hinode, and she is Mio Sasaki.
Oh, well,
she's like called Muga or Mago or something like that, or whatever. It's like magnificent something, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
it's a nickname.
Distorted.
Magu, I think is what it is. Megu,
Okay.
Megu, Megu is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
But her real name is Mayo, and the reason why they're calling her this name is because she's very eccentric. She's like always excited and jumps around,
outgoing.
or at least puts on this facade of it being like that. And the beginning really kind of sets it up, I want to say, for how it is.
I just realized something.
By all means.
So the premise, the biggest, not twist, but the biggest motor that this movie travels on is everyone's face is different. Everyone has just a face they expose.
Mm-hmm.
And I just realized that she's got a face that she shows everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually that face falls off, signifying. That
kind of goes with the territory, but at the same time, it's not just her face, the face that she shows everyone else. It's the human face that falls off. So one of the biggest premises about this movie is she puts on this mask and she turns into a cat, literally turns into a cat. And you're introduced pretty much right away. The mask salesman is trying to convince her that it's great being a cat. Here's all the positives of being a cat. And some of the positives that he was listing was like, I don't know. It's like when you're a cat, you get to lounge around all day and you don't have to use a toilet and you can just go poop everywhere and then you get to lick your butt. It's like, what?
It's eco-friendly.
It's eco-friendly. It's like, okay, that's a weird selling point.
Oh, hard.
But
hard.
She stays a cat and she says no, and she doesn't want to. And
she just didn't want to make a decision.
Right. She didn't. Well, it's not that she wanted to make a didn't want to make a decision. She was still holding on to feelings and emotions and things like that. That she's like, I can definitely do all this as a human. You know, I don't want to be a cat. I want to be a human, and kept that mentality. And then when events end up happening, and she is told by her love interest that I hate you, simply because, you know, it wasn't even because she had read a letter or anything like that. She had tried giving
him a letter.
She wrote him a love letter, and she ended up getting bullied over it, and they were making fun of her over it, which is really sad, but typical for children. Sadly.
See, I thought the guy who was bullying her relentlessly, I thought had a big crush on her. Like, I thought that's where they were going to go, where her love interest was this solo being who was going to move away or going to drop out of school to take care of his family, and the pressures he was under, stuff like that, would make him unavailable, and she would realize that the person who was bullying her was actually the one that she cared about the most. She just had to take a look at him. I thought they were going to go that way. After this whole bullying incident, he basically dropped off the map.
Well, yeah, because that's kind of the direction they needed it to go. They needed to create this like big bad situation type thing, and
the breaking point.
Right. And I don't necessarily disagree with how they tried to portray it or have it go out, you know. And the reason why I say that is because I really honestly can't view a different way where they would be able to get the same impact, right? Because one of the biggest impacts, one of the biggest things that ended up happening was the main character, when she was having that, when it was going on, Mayo was having her love letter basically be read. Kento grabs the letter, and because he's also embarrassed about it, but she's trying to tell him, it's like, hey, I'm not strong. I have all these things. I have difficulty telling other people too, as if he had told her like that's what was going on, and him with it not clicking, like, how the heck does she know all this? You know, because the things that she was saying and trying to connect with him on were things that he only had told the cat when she was in a cat form, and he didn't know it.
That kind of drives the plot where he was showing her his true face, and she had knowledge that no one should have. I guess honest, that would come by it honestly, you know?
Right.
And she has some memories that she imports her person into rather than the cat. And when you see these memories in her own head, you're like,
yeah, but the biggest thing is that's not why he's upset. In fact, he doesn't realize that had happened or anything like that until after the fact all that had happened, and it doesn't click for him. So during that whole predicament, that whole point where she's being bullied, it's kind of a relentless point where he's embarrassed. He doesn't know how to react, and the fact that she was trying to be close to him at all just upsets him. And so he tells her that he hates her, which is the kind of the pushing point where she finally gives up being human.
Well, so the way that I interpreted it was more to the point of she was invading his privacy. He was not willing to give her that information. He was willing to give something he loved that information, which was the cat. And when she's interjected with, well, I have this information and I'm using it, not in those specific terms, but she starts using information that she feels will get her closer to him. And when it doesn't quite work out that way, and he goes, I hate you, in her head, it flips to where, well, no, he still loves the cat.
Which
so
he
if
does.
I just cat, yeah, he does. And she goes, if I'm the cat, he's gonna love me. And when she transitions back into the cat, she goes to see him and realizes that he still technically does love the cat, but hates her in her own mind, that's where her face falls out, because she's just like, I want to be a cat. She's no longer in limbo.
But she also gave up being a human, and that's something the mask owner specifically stated, because once the mask came off, he goes, hey, you've finally given up being human, and that's what that is. You finally gave up being human. You're fully committed now. And one of the reasons why she wasn't able to initially turn back into a human either was because she still had those regrets. She didn't really want to be a human. She wasn't really fully committed to growing. And again, I want to really reiterate that he didn't hate her because of the information that she had. It was the fact that she was even trying to connect, because after the fact, after she already had ran away, he starts reflecting on what she said. And that's when he goes, well, I don't remember ever telling her that. How did she know that?
Yeah.
So it wasn't even because of that information or anything like that. It was the fact that because he has a lot going on for his own life, and the fact that someone was trying to kind of connect with him on a romantic level, I want to say, kind of pushed it a little too far for him.
I don't know. It's one of those things where you can't push your own feelings onto somebody and expect a good result.
Exactly.
If it was a different show, this would be a psycho stalker, and we would have a totally different opinion.
Well, what's funny is they even touch on that, right? They do reference that as like, no, that's just stalkerish, and they joke about it a couple of times in the show or in the movie. They do joke about it. So it's, and what she is doing is she is stalking. She is straight up stalking him. There is no two ways about it.
Yeah. And stalking him in the cutest way possible, because the cat. So I guess one of the things that tips him off to the fact that she and the cat are the same thing is the cat smells like the sun, and he loves it.
Yes.
He absolutely loves it.
Yes.
And it's interesting because, metaphorically speaking, the cat was the bright point in his life. And with all the crap going on around him, family, responsibility, school, trying to juggle all that, the only fun person forcing themselves into his life was Megu.
Yes. Yeah.
And the cat was too, and they have the same smell, both as a person and as a cat. And what I found really interesting about that whole dynamic was he didn't realize it. He didn't realize that his life was happier when she was there.
Yeah.
And then when her face is now used by another cat, he ends up going, I kind of miss it.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting for me, at the very beginning, not the very beginning, but like when she was asking about the cost of these things, the mask seller was saying, oh, better life, there's really no cost. And he doesn't, well, he never said there was no cost. He never said a cost, specifically avoided it with pretty words. Come to find out, the cost is immeasurable. So a cat's life, what?
Well, it depends on the cat.
20 years? 25?
No, not even.
I'm just talking like the longest life.
Oh, I really couldn't tell you in all honesty, but yeah, no, the trade-off is when you give up your humanity, your human form, literally, and they also take half your life.
No, not half, the remainder of your life. And the reason he said half is he was splitting the lifespan that she would have had as a human minus what a cat would have, and she split it with the person who took the mask and himself.
See, I don't remember him specifically stating the remainder. I don't even remember him stating that they even take half. I'm only assuming they take half, but they are taking a chunk of her life force, and then he was also going to split it. But I don't think they ever specifically state an exact amount or a round number.
They do. So when she ends up confronting the person who takes her face, which happens to be the house cat, she says specifically, now you might be more accurate than me, but she says that half of her life is gone. So yeah, that's where it goes. And then
she gets half, and then the mask owner gets half because they're splitting it. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's where that half came from. So either way, they live substantially longer lives than they would have as cats.
Yes.
And the mask seller was very adamant about getting specifically Megu as a soul to keep and to split, because the lifespan of a child is vast. It would give him, I would argue, close to 80 years, which is a deal that he probably doesn't come across every 100 years or so.
That's quite the span. I mean, like, if they were, I mean, like, if you're saying that if you're agreeing with me, taking her lifespan would give him 80 years, that means she'd be living 160 years. Oh my God.
He would get probably 40 years.
Right. Which is still significantly more than the other souls, which is one of the things I'm actually really happy with that they showed and talked about, was that she wasn't the only one, and you got to see what the other people what had become to some other people, and you heard about why they became a cat, why they gave up on being humans. It wasn't just like, hey, we became a cat and that was it. They provided context. I became a cat because I couldn't bear the weight of motherhood and I felt like it was too much, or this or that, or I couldn't bear the weight of fatherhood, or I couldn't bear the weight of this, or I couldn't bear the weight of that. And you had kind of a explanation as to why they decided to become cats. And then the regret that they had after that, they like, I wish I wasn't stuck like this, but I am now because of the decision I made.
Yeah, and I liked the fact that they came to terms with it. They might have been bitter about it, but they weren't vengefully bitter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they were like, no, they took responsibility. It was my decision. I messed up. I did it. But it kind of brings me to a question. Where was the first mask from? Where was the first transition from? Because when you go into the mask seller's home, I imagine his home, he's got a couple hundred masks just hanging on walls. Easily
a couple hundred.
So, I mean, how many human faces are up there? Like, you know, like, you gotta...
maybe 3 or 4, not a lot. Just 1 or 2, maybe 1. They sell like hotcakes. What can I say?
But it's curious to me.
It is. The other thing that's really good is that you get to see kind of like the inner dynamics, and you get the background story, not just for Kento or Hinode, but you also get the background for Mayo, and which is really good because you're given this mentality or this facade for a majority of it, and then it comes out, and which helps Kento realize who she really is and why she's able to understand him, is because she's been bullied a lot even as a kid, and because her parents were divorced, and her father has a new wife basically that's living with her and everything like that, you know, she's made fun of because of that, like as if she has control over her life situation in that regard, right?
Yeah, you know, like it's not.
But they sum it up perfectly. You know, kids can be very ruthless, as you and I both know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Dear Lord, as growing up as a kid, I was called many names, and this is a very controversial take. I understand that. I am in favor of bringing back a form of structured bullying, because I'm the person I am today because of the experiences I had where it was able to be controlled and fixed by my parents. If I encountered some of the same situations as an adult, there's no one to lean on. I would have a mental breakdown.
You see, but that's your own personal experiences and everything like that. Granted, everyone interacts or deals with things differently, and this movie definitely shows like how take Mayo for example, what she chose to do, right? Mm-hmm. She chose to put on a facade and smile all the time, but at the same time she was hurting and not really opening up to anyone, with the exception of her one close friend.
Yeah.
But then you take Kento, who's also going through a lot of problems and struggles himself. He chooses not to really open up to anyone except a cat.
Yeah. I also believe that most kids, if not all kids, should have a pet animal growing up.
I believe that 100% too.
Well,
but that's
you and I
for
have different reasons. You and I have different reasons, because you'll have unconditional love. There's a joke I absolutely love And it's who loves you more, your dog or your wife? Typically, someone would answer by now. But I say the dog, because you can lock your dog and your wife in the same trunk. And 3 hours later, when you open it back up, guess who's happy to see you? So
Yeah, no.
your wife will kill you or press charges, but like it's unconditional love. And it's unfortunate to say, but animals, specifically dogs, don't have a vast lifespan. Especially the bigger the ones you get, the shorter the lifespan. And
That's not necessarily true.
well, I've got a little bitty dog who I love, who's lived 19 years, and
my aunt had a Great Dane, and the only reason why that it had to get put down after 18 years was because of cancer.
Dear Lord.
So
I guess it's all about different things. I've never had a dog
granted,
larger than
like typically larger animals, or depending on it, do have shorter lifespans, but that is not always the case. Like there's always exceptions to the rules and everything like that. Going back to this though, which is a great segue, you have Kinako, which is Mayo's stepmother's cat, who had been raised by her stepmother the whole time, and didn't really like Mayo, who you find out ends up taking her face. And the reason why is because she wanted to return the love that she had received for all those years and give her the daughter and the appreciation and everything like that she feels like she deserves, which is.
And she can do it for much longer because she's about to hit the end of her life, and she knows it's going to be a sad moment for her.
Right.
And when she realizes that when she took the face over, obviously her cat persona, her cat body left. And that unfortunately made her mom, her owner, unbelievably sad. She was looking for her in the rain, almost like you would lose a child.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because for her, it was her child. Yeah. And just like my animals are my children. They're my babies. I love them all. Exactly. And granted, I understand not everyone has the same viewpoints as you and I when it comes to in regards to that or anything like that. But it's just how I personally am. And then what's great is Kanako actually sees that. She sees that. Oh, she kept telling her, it's like, oh, well, she just kind of maybe ran away or this and that. And it's like she's sitting at the door with a bowl of food, hoping she comes home, depressed and heartbroken. And going out in the rain trying to find her, like you were just saying. And that's the moment where she realizes, like, look, she's not like, I can just say, hey, I'm sure she's fine. I'm sure she's fine, or she'll come back. It's like, look, I don't care if she doesn't come back. I just want to make sure that she's safe and happy. And that's what really kind of sealed the deal for her when she sees her like walking out and doing that. It's, that's what that is. It's not a matter of her not being there anymore and that I'm just a cat to her. I am someone that means a lot to her. I mean a great deal to her. And what's really great about that whole point is, and what's happening with Mayo is they're both coming to an understanding, and they're both coming to realization that the lives that they had before were the lives they were supposed to have, and the grass really wasn't greener on the other side.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, and it's a good story. It's a good message. I just think it could have been said better.
True. Yeah, it was. Now, all that's not to say it didn't have its shortcomings. Again, like I had said during the beginning, the movie was very predictable. It led you down the path, and you knew exactly the second you started on that path, you knew exactly where it was going to end up. You knew the end result of it, and that's one of the disappointing things. So, for example, you find out she turns into a cat. Okay, there's obviously a catch, or there's going to be someone wanting to get something. She had to give something up. Well, you find the cat mask owner. Well, now who she got it from, if the beginning wasn't telltale enough for you, and he's trying to convince her to be, stay a cat. Well, obviously, if she stays a cat, she won't be a human, so obviously she'll give up her humanity. So that's going to be kind of like a catch right there, right?
Yeah, 22.
Yeah, exactly. And it just continues on. Like the more the movie progressed, the more it was, yeah, this is going to happen. Yeah, that's going to end up happening. And then it didn't disappoint in that regard. And it really did end up happening that way, sadly.
Sadly, indeed, yeah. No, I mean, it could have gone worse. It could have gone way worse, and I was expecting it to.
Yes.
Like from what I saw, from what I heard, from what I was expecting, it was going to be far worse than it came out. I'm glad they came around. I'm glad they came back to a mutually beneficial point in time, and I'm glad that everyone's happier for the experiences that were given. It's just I saw it coming 30 minutes before it did.
Yeah.
There was one twist I wasn't expecting, where what was the guy's name? The love interest, the
Kento?
Kento, yes. I wasn't expecting Kento to be able to go to Cat Island and become part cat. Like, that was interesting.
Yeah, and so the one thing that I have to say on that is that I found interesting is the reason why he didn't really become a cat and just part of him did is because he was already steadfast in that he wanted to be a human, and that he really had no desire to be anyone or anything else. And I think that's part of the reason for it, right? Why she's able to transform is because she's not happy with her situation and she wants to escape, and this is providing that escape. Whereas if he didn't want to escape a situation, he wanted to find a resolution for the current one he was in.
Exactly. Yeah, he was arguably a stronger character for that.
Yes.
They gave him diversity and a reason, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, which is a solid all around. And also provided him some redeeming features at the same time too.
Yeah, it gave you a reason to understand why he was the lead, if you will, the lead love interest.
Yeah.
And not just some bland person. Now, what I did notice, we haven't really mentioned, because I don't think it was that prominent, is everyone that everyone that our main character gave up on turned into a stick figure in her eyes.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that really plays a critical point or role in her mentality and her viewpoint of other people, and why it kind of just like pushed her along to giving up her humanity, so to speak.
I mean, it makes sense. If you don't see people as people and you just see them as placeholders, it's real easy to distance yourself.
Yeah.
And when you look at everyone, and everyone's a placeholder, except for the one you love, the one you want, the one you desire, the one you're going after, it's really easy to make compromises that you normally wouldn't make.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Because you don't care. You're not going to care about the opinion of a mob. You're not going to care about the opinion of anybody but the one that you were trying to make happy.
Exactly. And it's also a very, very double-edged sword in that regard. But one of the things that I thought was really well done, and I'm glad that they touched on it too, and they integrated into the story, is when Kanako becomes Mayo, even though she's acting kind of the same, and a majority of the people don't realize the difference, the people that she was closer to, like Kento, her best friend, Yoriko, immediately noticed. They're like, yeah, she sounds like her, she talks like her, she kind of acts like her, but it's not her. There's something off. Like what she's doing, how she acts, everything like that. It's just different. And even Kanako comes to realize this when she asks Kento, like, do you like me? And he doesn't really give a response. He's embarrassed by the question, but he doesn't really give a response. And because he's not wanting to really give a response, she immediately picks up on, yeah, he knows it's not me.
Yeah. And I liked how straightforward the cat was.
Yes.
And it gave you a sense of, I would say, animalistic behavior, because you're not going to immediately think of someone being this direct. We should sleep together. We should do this. We should do that. It comes off very foreign, but yeah, I would imagine in the animal kingdom, in where they're deriving this, it is commonplace. There's no reason to beat around the bush, so to speak. There's no reason to subjugate, to lie, even, because you'll notice she never lies, and she's incredibly perceptive.
Yes.
It could be that she just doesn't know how.
Well, I probably would guess that for her, she has no need for it.
Never has.
Yeah. So, well, I think this is a great spot.
Yeah.
For a rating, sir. So on a scale of up to 10, how would you rate this?
So animation quality, decent. I would say probably one of the better, more consistent ones. Music, which we didn't even talk about. There's a reason we didn't talk about it. While it was there, it wasn't amazing. It didn't stand out. It didn't take away from the ambience, but it didn't add to it. There was no nice symphony pieces. There was no nice or even well done orchestra that, when you see something and realization hits, there's a crescendo, and nothing like that happened. It was middling, if you will.
Yeah. Even during the pinnacle points, the music really wasn't as wow as I wanted it to be.
Exactly. Yeah. It wasn't it wasn't as well known as other things that we would have preferred.
Yeah.
But I mean, it wasn't bad. So the story, predictable, unfortunately so. I'm not usually one to pick up on things like that, but so for all the reasons and a few others that I either forgot, or if I get into it, it'll just be repetitive, I'm going to say 5.
Okay.
It was good enough for me to recommend to somebody else. It was good enough for me to have liked watching it. I would watch it again with somebody else to see what they would want, to see what they would see about it. I wouldn't seek it out to watch myself again. Like, this would be a good show that I would probably want to show my kids. It's
I can see that.
Low enough EQ that there's learning from here, but it's not. It's very easy to see.
Yeah. No, I got you. I understand that. Yeah, for me. So, what was yours again?
Mine was a 5.
5. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm actually gonna go. I'm gonna go higher. I'm gonna go with a 7. And the reason why I'm going with a 7 is because, one, it does, even though it was predictable, and the music wasn't that great, it just kind of wasn't. It was there, but it didn't give you that wow. But it hit a lot of points for me. Like when I was watching it, take the cat Kanako and the relationship with the owner and how she just wants to return that, but the owner, that whole scene, that whole premise, right? It really kind of struck a chord with me because, as you know, I love my animals. They're my everything. Of course. Yes. I would happily do anything and everything I can for them. And so like when it came to like that particular scene or that mentality for it, and the same thing for Kento, it was the same thing for him, you find out, and everything like that. It's just like it really kind of like connected with me more than anything else. Yeah, it was, and that's why I'm actually going higher, because I was able to connect with it, at least with those characters or those scenarios and scenes, a lot more than anything else, because it's easy for me to put myself easily in that type of situation where it's like that, where
understandable. They made it relatable to you, and that's
very much so. Would I watch it again? No, not really. I wouldn't. With under certain circumstances, I could see myself rewatching it.
Okay.
But I mean, would it keep my interest? No. I'd probably be. I'd probably be playing on my phone the whole time or something like that.
Well, I would watch it and watch somebody else watch it. You know what I mean? Like key points, and be like, you missed that.
Yeah. No, I got you. Yeah. No. So that's where I'm at. I'm at a 7 for it. So
okay.
Next week, sir, is your choice.
Yes, and my phone died. I'm glad I told you what it was before. I hope you remembered it.
I do actually, and I have it up. It's AntiMagic Academy 35th Test Platoon. It's 12 episodes long, and it came out in 2015. It's a action, fantasy, romance, supernatural, ecchi harem, military. All your favorite viewpoints, or all your favorite genres.
Well, there's a reason I picked it.
Obviously. Well, I think that's about all the time we have for today, sir. What do you think?
I think we're good to go.
All right. Well, if you feel like we missed something, we did it too much justice, didn't do it enough justice, or anything like that, feel free to reach out to us, featuredanimepodcast@gmail.com, at Those Anime Guys on Twitter, Facebook, Featured Anime Podcast on there. You hang out, talk with us in our Discord. Link for that's going to be in the notes for you. So feel free to join us in there. We're always, or at least I know I'm always in there. Rick, he likes to lurk more so
Very
than
much
anything
so.
else. But you know, we're always happy to have you hang out with us in there. Or if you want to buy yourself some swanky merch, help support us, help us grow, shop.featuredanimepodcast.com. Or $1 a month will also help us grow, patreon.com/featuredanimepodcast. And until next time, I'm Jack.
And I'm looking for one of those damn masks because I want to jump off a bridge and survive with no issues.
Right?
And I'm Rick, and we'll see you next time.